Hi, this
Okay.
is Maria Lloyd with FinancialJuneteenth.com. And today I have a very special guest. He's out in LA, so he's rubbing in the beautiful weather. Before we started
Mhm.
recording, he was telling me how LA is like, fabulous, and I'm in freezing Chicago most of the time. But anyway, his name is Kenyatta Griggs, and he is the owner of Hip Hop Motivation. So, Kenyatta, how are you?
How are you? I'm doing good.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us.
This is my first time using Skype, so excuse the weirdness of. I'm getting used to this. This is
Oh
new.
no, you
This is new.
good. You're
Okay.
good.
All
So,
right.
okay, you're a business owner and you're also in the music industry. So, could you kind of give
Right.
us or our viewers and listeners a little background information about you, like how you got into the industry? What is hip hop motivation? What do you guys do, etc.?
Well, Hip Hop Motivation is a company that sells self help products from a hip hop perspective, and so we concentrate on books, movies, any seminars, events that help people reach their own, achieve their own goals, or whatever it may be, or just giving people information that can help them throughout their day or throughout
Okay.
their life. Okay. So, but I started off as a barber on Crenshaw Boulevard. I owned a salon over there for over 19 years. And being a barber on Crenshaw Boulevard, I've ran into a lot of great people that were in the music industry as well as the TV and film industry. And from cutting their hair, they introduced me to people that some of their entertainer friends or clients or whatever you may call it. So I started cutting a lot of the executives behind the scenes, and then that turned into me cutting a lot of the entertainers that are actually on stage, on TV and film. And that was always my objective growing up because I think for any hairstylist or barber, that's any hairstylist and barber's objective when they get into the game is to have their work platformed on a higher level, which is like on TV, on film,
Hmm.
videos, whatever. I think that's any hairstylist. And that was always my goal. And what I used to do was I used to actually talk about it as if I was already doing it before I even started doing it to my family back east in North Carolina, and even my family here in Los Angeles. And what happened was about maybe I'll say maybe a year after that, those so-called lies started turning into truths because I actually was on set doing a lot of entertainers and started cutting a lot of random people all over the world. And I've been flown out of town, flown different places to do a lot of different entertainers like Mindless Behavior. I've cut Chris Brown's hair. I've cut Snoop, Method Man. There's tons of people. Ti. A lot of people I forget about, but because at the end of the day, I'm there for providing a great service, so I look at everybody the same in that respect. So I've been blessed in the business.
Wow, that's so unique. So, okay, let me ask you about when you touched on like telling your relatives that you were already kind of, you'd already quote unquote made it.
Right.
Um, I like to call that fake it till you make it. And I think a lot of people don't realize the significance of doing that sometimes, not only just from a, if you will, a spiritual standpoint where you're kind of putting things into the universe and then it reverberates, but even from a business connection standpoint. I mean, there have been people who have amassed millions of dollars from what some folks would call
Right.
a quote unquote white lie. They may say, "Oh, I know so and so
Yeah.
at this company," when they're speaking to a prospective client, and it works out for them. So, could you kind
Right.
of tell our viewers, those who are interested in opening their own business or maybe expanding their business, how does that fake it till you make it, if you will, principle, how does that play out into expanding a business or creating one in the first place?
Well, that's actually the fake it till you make it principle is to me the most important principle before you get anything started, because you have to consciously go within and you have to realize and know and see what it is you want to do. It's you can't really create great plans until you see and you know exactly where you want to go within. Because consciousness is everything. So if you consciously go within and you start picturing yourself and seeing yourself doing these great things, whatever it is you choose to do, um, that right there initially is the first step to achieving any goal and any success in anything you do. I know that a lot of people, they look at it like it's lying, and or it's not being real or keeping it real, but keeping it real is consciousness, and that is really keeping it real because the spirit is really all there is. And in the movie that we've done called The Secret to Balling, what we've done is we went back to the roots of building people up to become consciously aware that they can achieve anything, you know, and that's why, like you said, faking it till you make it is one of the most important principles. You actually have to live it in consciousness. You have to live it here first in imagination. You have to see yourself doing these things, and whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish, see yourself doing it first, and it makes it a lot easier.
Wow.
Definitely.
Very wise words. So, okay, you know, you've been shot 6 times. I
Right.
saw that in another interview. And
Right.
so, is it safe to say that you're from an impoverished area, or what most people would consider the hood? Is it safe to
Yeah.
assume that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm from Los Angeles. You know, I grew up off of Slauson Boulevard and Crenshaw, but in that area, in heavy gang territory. Growing up, you know, like most neighborhoods in Los Angeles, you know, are heavy gang territory areas. And I actually didn't get shot in my neighborhood. I got shot downtown by Staples Center.
Wow.
And it was crazy. It was a random act. And I was on my way to cut Method Man from Wu-Tang Clan. But I had stopped by my place where I was staying at the time to pick up my laptop because he wanted me to hook his iPod up. So what I did was I was on the phone with a friend of mine. And at that moment, because where I was living at, I wasn't really feeling the place where I was living at the time. I was staying with a young lady. And, you know, I was going through a transitional stage. I was in a relationship before where I had, you know, we had separated or whatever. And I was going through a transitional stage. And I was doing a lot of complaining about, you know, things that were going on in my life at the time. And I was on the phone doing this. And as I was walking in the gate, reaching for the gate to open the gate, complaining on the phone, holding, balancing it with my ear and with my shoulder, someone said, "Hold up." And as they said, "Hold up," I looked over because, you know, naturally that means somebody wants to get in, you know, inside the gate,
Right.
like you're inside. And what I did, I looked over and the guy had a pistol in my face, and it seemed like he was about to shoot me in my face. But I ducked and I hit him with the gate and I started zigzagging inside of the complex. I was shot 6 times. As I laid on the concrete, he ran up, stood over me, and as he pulled the trigger like 3 times, and it was like click, 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 right by my temple.
Wow.
He ran up, jumped in the car. The cops came up at that moment, and the first thing the cops asked me was, "What did I do to deserve this?" It was a Hispanic cop and a white cop. He asked me what did I do to deserve this, and I couldn't breathe at the time. I was hitting my liver, my lung, my leg, and all, you know, my back, you know, because I was running from him, and I could feel myself like I couldn't breathe. You know, when you can't breathe, that's the ultimate. that's the ultimate feeling when you can't breathe and you know, like I had a hole in my lung. And the guy was like, "What did you do to deserve this?" I said, "Nothing. Please help me. Please help me." I'm begging for my life, begging for them to help me. And he said, "Well, if you can't, he said, 'Oh, you must have did something to deserve this.'" And I said, "Oh man, here we go."
Wow.
The white cop then said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Kenyatta." And I don't know, I guess he couldn't understand me or whatever it may have been. He said, "Well, if you can't tell us your name, we can't get you any help." At that moment, I heard the ambulance coming in the background, thank God. And I was taken to the hospital in critical condition. I blacked out in that situation. And then I felt that was almost like the ultimate, that would have to be the ultimate peace. That's the biggest, the most peace I've ever felt in my life in that moment, blacking out in that experience. It was interesting. It was almost a feeling of feeling like one with everything. I felt at one with everything around me. Like when I was laying on the ground, I felt one with the ants crawling up under my face with the concrete. The sun was closer. Everything seemed like it was a part of me. And I was already studying. I always had knowledge of self. I was already studying different manuscripts and different things over the years as I was growing up. But everything that, it's funny because of things that I read and I noticed about that God is within, I actually physically felt that feeling that's real and that's the truth. That's the truth. And so from there, on this day that I got shot, that was the day I created Hip Hop Motivation about an hour before this took place.
Wow.
And So it was almost like as if, because before that, I didn't really go through anything. I never gang banged. I didn't sell drugs. I cut hair growing up. And so I didn't really have a testimony that was kind of like, a harsh testimony like a lot of people do. And at that, after that happened, I continued to write in the hospital, and I wrote a book called Think and Ball Out that we're about to re-release. We're about to release right after The Secret to Balling. It's an audio play. And I mean, I was just so happy to make it out of this situation, because I see how many people die, how people can actually die in this situation when the cops are coming up and they're not looking to help you, and they're looking at every black man that's laying there as a potential threat, or a gangbanger or a drug dealer. And I've never done either one.
Wow.
I've never had a domestic violence situation. I didn't have any of those situations. And so, that was the ultimate. They were looking at me as a gangster because I'm a big guy. I'm about 6'2". You know what I'm saying? 6'2", like 275, 280, and so I'm looked at as a threat right off the back. And I'm laying there on the ground, I'm bleeding, and, can't breathe. And I'm trying, and a lot of things take place when you can't breathe. Trust me. When you can't breathe, forget everything else you pray for. Or you're thankful for. Be thankful for the mere fact that you can breathe, because when you can't breathe, that's the generator of the body. So when you can't breathe, it's over. It's done. Breathing is very important, and I just didn't. From that day, I started breathing deeper. So yeah, I became a deep breather because I appreciate breath now. Yeah,
that's amazing. So, how would you say that experience shaped your, I guess, your drive or determination to launch Hip Hop Motivation? I mean, obviously, you had already, it was already conceived just an hour or so prior to being shot. So, how do you think that situation further, motivated you to keep it moving?
Well, it further motivated me to the point where I began living each day as if it was my last. Still to this day, I'm very thankful for each moment. I'm thankful for this moment right now with this interview. And what happened was it helped me to see that, us as human beings, we waste a lot of time complaining. We waste a lot of time in the problem instead of focusing on the solution. And the solution is always within you. It's not without you. See, every solution, every problem holds its own solution. And what I feel like for myself, speaking for myself, I spent a lot of time, like most people, complaining without looking at the true solution, which is myself. I'm the solution. If someone is harming me or hurting me, I have a choice to move away from that person. I have a choice to walk away, get away, or just whatever, or just remove myself totally from the situation. But what happens is we put things outside of us. We make things outside of ourselves more powerful than the true and living God within ourselves. And from that day on, I just became I've actually, I write every day. I became like just really deeply enmeshed in motivating and helping people achieve greatness and live a better life. That's my motivation. My whole motivation behind even the Dame and Dash videos. I didn't put those videos up to monetize anything. I didn't put them up to so-called make any money. The promotion we've been doing with getting the company known, that's pretty much my only MO for the whole situation, was to make hip hop motivation a household name and actually put it out there in pop culture so people can say, oh, okay, these people are doing something positive. I didn't put those videos up to make money. And Damon Dash, that wasn't his objective to make money off the videos either. What happened was, by surprise, our surprise is that people began to like these videos and start putting them on their blogs and talking to us about them. Everywhere I would go in the streets, we're like, oh man, you're the guy on the videos with Dame, and I really appreciate it. And that it was interesting because that's not my thing. Like, I'm not a guy that's gonna sit there and just interview people. And a lot of the videos, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to Dame Dash objectively. And I'm letting him talk because he's a person that's actually experienced some great things, and he's put some people in the game. And I felt like it was important to give people that have been left in the dark, and I mean, truthfully speaking, Black people, psychological slavery has really, really, really done a job on our people. And I felt like even if we give them a little bit of information that they can do certain things and they can bring themselves up through independence, I feel like society will become better for our people. But it has to start at the grassroots of things. And that's where the secret to balling comes in. We start at the grassroots. And I know about a movie called what is it called? 7 a.m. What is it called?
7 a.m. About Jason Black.
Saying right. I heard about that. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And but this movie deals more with the inner faculties of economics, and commerce. Building the self up, building the spirit up. Because if you're not spiritually aware, it's only so far you can go when you don't tap into the real true and living within yourself. And that's what the secret to balling is about.
Wow, that's very interesting. So, with you kind of, appreciating every moment of life, every moment that you're living, what advice can you offer aspiring business owners or current business owners in terms of time management? What are some good time management techniques?
Well, great time management techniques to me always begins and ends with, like I say this all the time, just having a true affinity for what you're doing, having love for what you're doing. Because if you notice, when you love what you're doing, there's no time limit. You could be tired from working at your job the whole day, and then you get home and you start working on what you really love to do. That feeling of being tired actually it's gone. It's not there anymore. So I tell anybody that's doing anything as far as time management goes, is just put, because we all work our jobs. It's not one situation where you can just quit your job and just be, sleep on your mama's couch or sleep on someone's couch and just think that's the way you become successful. That's not it. Work your job if that's what you're doing, but always put time into after work, like turn your goal into a part-time job until it becomes a full-time lifestyle. That's what I tell people. Even if you work on something for an hour at a time or a few hours after you get off, it's very important that you put that time aside. But when you love it, you're gonna put that time aside. When you love what you're doing, as soon as you enter the door of your house after getting off work, you already work. As soon as you walk out, as soon as you clock out your job, clock out for the day, you're already thinking about what you love to do and what you're trying to, the goal that you're trying to achieve, basically. So it's really just you loving what you're doing, what you do. Yeah, just put more time into finding out what it is truly that you love to do and make those moves. And, you don't have to worry so much about time because, time seems to disappear when you're doing something you love. I know that for a fact. Right.
So you speak a lot about spirituality. And so I have a lot of friends and family members who identify themselves as Christians. And so sometimes I see this particularly in the Christian community. I do have some friends who practice other religious beliefs, but obviously most of my friends and family members are Christians. And so what I'll see a lot of times in the Christian community is when something doesn't work out, people will say, oh, well, it must be God's will. It wasn't God's will for me to have this situation. It wasn't God's will for me to open my business right now. Maybe he wants me to get this job, or maybe he wants me to open it at a later point. And from what I'm gathering in this conversation, you're saying that, we're empowered. We have the ability to kind of make these decisions and things. So what would you say to a Christian who does believe that things aren't prospering the way they like in their lives because God doesn't want that to happen at this moment? What would you say to them?
Well, what I would say to them is just spend more time taking a look within. Like it's really kind of hard to really teach someone something that they've been taught all their life. But what I always do is I use the analogy of the light bulb. Each of us are like light bulbs connected to the same generator of power. You can switch the light bulb, different light bulbs, and they have different wattage, and they all glow and illuminate the same, unless they're blown out. And that generator of power is God, and that God is within you. So I do believe that anything that happens to you happens for you. Like in the situation with me getting shot, I felt like that situation happened for me because before that, I might have been a little lazy towards anything outside of cutting hair, and I've always had a true passion and love for writing and reading and studying. I love the self-help genre. I love spirituality. I was raised Christian. I studied the 5% teachings growing up. I studied Islam. I have a lot of friends of different religious backgrounds. And one thing that I've learned about religion in itself is that it's all connected. It's almost like people, I kind of call like religion sometimes spiritual gang banging. It's like gang banging. It's like, because you're a Jehovah's Witness, because you're a Christian, I can't hang out with you. I can't talk to you. Because you're a Muslim, you're not welcome at my church over here, because you're the, and it's like gang banging, man. It's just as ill as the gang bangers that's on the corner out there gang banging, throwing up sets, hitting you up, shooting people. It's the same exact thing. And it's ridiculous. And I feel that if we spend more time and get away from religiosity and spend more time with spirituality, things become a lot clearer to you. Just spend more time looking at yourself, because all the answers you need are within you, not without you.
Okay.
Everything you need is within you. There's not certain, it's not a certain book you can read that has all the answers. There's no such thing as that. Yeah.
So, okay, as a business owner, well, actually, no, I'm going to ask you this question as a barber, because, there are some, I know a couple of like celebrity barbers and stuff too. And so a lot of times they're afraid to ask a celebrity colleague or client if we can, well, do you mind if I do this project with you? So how did you do that? How did you manage to, ask these celebrities, hey, do you mind if we, shoot a video talking about some self-help stuff? How did you do that? How did you transition like that?
Well, it's interesting, because I've always been a person that had a lot of audacity. Like I'm one of those people that I ask for what I want, so I just asked. I didn't do it in any special type of way. I just said, this is what I'm doing. I have a movie where we're talking about success secrets of from different types of people, all walks of life. And I just asked them if they would be available for me to capture some footage, asking them a few questions about success and their success. And one thing I know about human nature is people like to talk about themselves. So it's not hard to get someone to agree to talking about themselves. Now, what's hard to get is like somebody saying like, oh, they want to be in your, because then the business stuff comes in play and this or that. But I've had relationships with these people over time, and I've never asked them for anything. So when I did ask them finally to do something for me, they were happy with it. They were okay with it. Like Chris Brown, I haven't known that long, but Chris Brown, as well as Snoop, Snoop said, when I asked him if he would participate in the movie, Snoop said, that's easy. That's all Snoop said. He just said, that's easy. And I was like, wow. It actually shocked me that he said it that fast. It was nothing. He didn't ask about paperwork. He didn't ask about how much. It was just like, sure, I'll do it. Wow. No problem. Chris Brown did the same thing. Everybody that's in the movie did the same thing. Timberland did the same thing. He said, come on, come through. He was at the studio. He was working on Justin Timberlake's album when he was doing it. He took the time out of his studio session. Justin Timberlake was in the studio when I filmed Timberland.
Wow.
Came outside with myself and my homeboy Sean, who was the director of The Secret to Ballin', and gave us a good 30-minute interview.
That's
about
amazing.
His success. But it always starts with just asking. Like it tells you, if you knock, the door shall be answered. I'm just a believer in just have enough confidence, if I have any secret that I can give any business owner or anyone trying to do anything, is have the audacity to ask, have the audacity to just step out and do it. Just do it. Don't think about, well, this person, well, he might not, he might. See, there you go. So now what's happened is you're living in a negative consciousness.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you block what might be for you, and you never know. It's just the same thing I tell brothers, like when I used to be in the club, hollering at girls, talking to girls. The guys that usually have more impression on women is the man that has the audacity to walk up to them, even if it's a group of women. And it's the same thing in business, as well as if you want to call it macking or relationships, it's the same thing. You have to have audacity. You have to be kind of crazy a little bit. You got to be crazy enough to go up to somebody and say, hey, you know what, man, I don't know you that well, but I have a video I'm doing, a movie I'm doing. I wanted to know if I can ask you a few questions, and you never know because I didn't have it. Everybody didn't say yeah. Some people didn't say anything and they didn't get back.
Right.
Some people just felt like that wasn't on their agenda. So it's not for everybody, but at least I asked. And I feel like asking is the most important part of business, life, relationship, and everything you do. So be straightforward with yourself. Ask. Don't downplay yourself. You have to live in here first.
Right.
Act as if, like you said. What did you call it? You called it. What did you say?
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. You have to actually act as if this person already said yes.
Right.
They're going to say yes, and that's what I did. And I'm glad I did because I asked a lot of wonderful people that are in the movie. Kelly Rowland said yes, and she was filming a video at the time. She was really busy, but she still took the time to give us an interview to put into the Secret of Harlem.
That's amazing. So when Brother Brandon reached out and told me that he knew you, and shout out to Brandon, thank you so much for the connection. The first thing I told him is, I've seen a ton of hip hop motivation videos, and they're always well put together. The quality of the video is always really good. I've always liked the way that you put the videos together. So I wanted to ask you, how did you learn to create, quality, and even with the way that you edit your videos? I feel like, you probably have captured 2 hours of footage, but on YouTube, you'll upload maybe 15 minutes of it. And it's very good information. I mean, it's hard hitting. It gets straight to the point. How did you learn how to do that?
Well, I can't take credit for that. My business partner, she also films the video. Carolyn Gentle. Yes, definitely. Female power is involved in hip hop motivation. She films the video as well as edits the videos, and that's why the videos have that sort of. They're put together well. We had sound issues at first, but we got those taken care of because we started using a boom mic and lavalier situations or whatever. But the credit goes to Carolyn Gentle. She's my business partner in hip hop motivation. And that is also the key to the success we've been seeing, because when a man adds female power as well as a woman adds male power to the equation of business, it can turn out to be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful success that's ahead of you.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, shout out to
you can definitely, shout out to Carolyn, because Carolyn puts it down, definitely.
She does. She puts it down. She does a really good job.
Right. And Culture Vultures, the book, is derived from those interviews. A lot of the stuff that we talked to Dame about, but we can't put up everything. Like the Redman video, for instance, was about like 3 hours long, but we only put up maybe 45 minutes of footage.
Wow. So
it's like we have tons and tons of footage of Dame and just the different case studies we've done. Because Dame and Dash's interviews are like case studies. I wanted to give the people a firsthand look at him being a tycoon or CEO or whatever you want to call it. I wanted to show them like what it takes to really be successful from the guy. He's very expressive, so he's perfect. He's perfect. He's a perfect motivator, really, to me. One of my great friends. I've known him for over 14 years. He's flown me out of town to different events that he's done, and he's always treated me as an equal, and I appreciate that from him. And where a lot of times, a lot of entertainers and people that are so-called on another level, they look down on people, or they treat people like, oh, I'm better than you. Watch out, get out of my way. Just cut my hair. But Dame actually lets you kick it with him and talk to him. He'll answer your questions. He doesn't feel like any question is silly. He'll answer those questions. Any question that you come with, he'll answer them. He's just one of those guys.
So on the topic of Dame, Dame, as of recent, a lot of people have revered some of his comments as a little controversial. How do you deal with that? You being friends with him and having him featured on a lot of hip hop motivation videos. How do you deal with those phone calls from friends or family members who are like, man, what's up with that dude? Man, he tripping. What's up with that? How do you deal with that?
Well, personally, like I talk to Dame, like I see Dame, like he lives in Los Angeles, so I see Dame every day, or I talk to him every day. Even when he's in New York, I would still call him and we'll talk. And Dame really is one of those people similar to myself. He doesn't really care what people think about him. He's very, and I'm not saying that, in a light way. I'm saying he really doesn't mind being himself. He
Right.
does not mind being himself. So however it comes out, he knows, everything he says is not 100% right. Sometimes, he may have said it wrong, but he just embraces his self,
Mm-hmm.
and he's able to express from his heart. And I don't have a problem with that too much. People come at me like, I have clients that are like, oh man, your man's tripping. Like he's like, why he do envy like that? Like for the Breakfast Club interview. And I'm like, well, how did he do him? I mean, like that's barbershop talk. That's how we talk in the barbershop. I mean, that's how men kind of get at each other sometimes. We joke, we clown. Dane wasn't serious. He wasn't on some. He wasn't trying to beat Envy up or beat Charlemagne up. Masculine conversation is aggressive, and I felt like it was appropriate. I really felt like the whole interview needed that needed to be done on that platform to me, because who else is doing that? Everybody be scared to talk, to speak from their heart or speak a so-called from themselves. And I don't call it the truth what he said, but what I do say is it was from his heart, and the heart is the love element to me. You know what I'm saying? So if you speak it from your heart, that's your own expression, your own individuality, and there's nothing wrong with that. So Dame is Dame. I don't have a problem with Dame, speaking his mind. You see some of the videos, he be saying some stuff, and I don't always agree with Dame, but and I don't even show I don't agree with him sometimes.
Right.
Because I'm one of those people, I'm in my own world. I'm up here. You know what I'm saying? I'm living in imagination. I'm living from the heart. I'm living from the God within. I'm not really trying to make him think like Kenyatta.
Right.
Or he's not trying to make me think like him, and it's a good relationship we have. We have a great relationship, definitely.
Wow. So, I mean, I think I've taken up enough of your time now. So if anyone wants to reach you, any of the audience or the readers or listeners or viewers or whatever, if they want to reach you, how can they get in contact with you? How can they follow up on what Hip Hop Nation Motivation is doing?
Well, they can see the videos at our Hip Hop Motivation YouTube page. The Secret to Ballin', the move, they can go to www.thesecrettoballing.com, or they can personally hit us up at hiphopmotivation01@gmail.com. And we respond back. It's as of lately, since the Breakfast Club interview, it's been heavy emails coming through. So we respond back, in order.
Right.
So, don't get mad if we don't respond back as soon as you send the email. Sometimes that happens, but it's gotten a little crazy since that interview,
Right.
because everybody is, asking questions, coming for advice, or just want to talk to Dame. And Dame reads these emails as well. So if you do send an email, I definitely read them to him. I tell him what's going on, or I forward it to him if he's out of town. But they can hit us up through hiphopmotivation01@gmail.com. Send your questions, and we'll get to them, and then we'll ask the questions on here with Dane.
Wow. Well, Kenyatta, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I feel like I went to church today talking to you.
Oh, you went to church.
So I really appreciate you for dropping your knowledge and sharing your experience with us. And for you guys who are tuning in, thank you all for tuning into the Financial Juneteenth platform. And make sure you hit up Kenyatta. And like you said, he actually shows Dame the emails and questions that you guys have. So if you have anything that you want him to address in another hip hop motivation video, make sure you send him that email so that he can address it. So Kenyatta, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you out
all
there
right,
too.
And for the readers and listeners, thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.